Corpse-Starch Tampering. These are the creepiest everyday crimes in the Imperium of man, the quiet ones hidden in the dark between corrupt Medicaid wards and thugs deep within the underhives. Let's start with what's for dinner. If you find yourself living in a hive city, your meals come in a dull gray block, roughly the size of your fist. This processed protein block, known as Soylent's Viridians, is made from recycled human biomass, and you probably have a good idea of what that means. In the 41st millennium, recycling dead bodies into protein isn't some shameful secret. It's just how things are done. Cities with tens of billions of people make huge amounts of organic waste. If they do not recycle it, they starve. The block keeps you alive. Most folks in the hive have been eating it their whole lives and won't live long enough to taste anything else. Now here's where the underhive gangs come into play. They've figured out that no one checks the food stash. The administratum keeps track of the corpse-starch processing quotas, but the gangs controlling the distribution pipes in the lower districts take their slice by tampering with the supply before it reaches the residential lines. They mix in industrial grease, fungal waste from cooling systems, and pour in toxic chemical runoff from nearby factories. The block still looks the same, still weighs about the same, and it even gets stamped with the right approval seal. That's because the safety inspector who signs off on the shipments has taken bribes for over a decade and will not stop now. For the gang, it's all about maximizing their profit margins while reducing the already minimal nutritional value to near zero. Because of this, the citizens are slowly being poisoned by their own food, and the government has no system to catch it. Chronic sickness is so common that the rising deaths are ignored as normal background data. Organ harvesting. In the underhive, Medicaid facilities exist, but they're not the lifelines they appear to be. Access to proper care is a luxury, often dependent on gang patronage or ecclesiarchy funding, and both of which come with their own strings attached. They cater to a population that has nowhere else to turn. If you're working in the factories and a chemical burn leaves your hand a bloody mess, that licensed med clinic just a few streets away is your only shot at not dying alone in an alley. Some of these places have found a way to make extra money. The upper hive is always on the lookout for organs. As the wealthy age and their bodies start to fail, the wait for official transplants from legitimate gene banks can stretch for years and cost more than most families in the hive will earn in 3 lifetimes. So there's an alternative supply chain. When underhive patients come in for surgeries that require anesthesia, they're not always brought back to consciousness right after the operation. The more viable organs are prioritized, checked for compatibility with the upper hive clientele, and harvested based on their market value. The patient remains on life support during this time because fresh organs fetch a high price. Once the list of organs is exhausted, the care is gradually reduced. The family is told their loved one didn't survive the complications of the surgery. They're given a ceremonial empty urn and a receipt, but the body itself has already been stripped for organs and then sent into the recycling system. The drug trade. In most hive cities, Obscura is sold openly on the same blocks where local enforcers eat. This causes no alarm since a population sedated on cheap drugs remains orderly and manageable. Smoked or injected, it offers fleeting euphoria before plunging users into a suicidal crash. For those living 80 levels below natural light, it's the cheapest escape from misery. The gangs pump it through the same pipes that carry questionable food and water to billions of users, so addiction flows as naturally as breathing. Planetary enforcers handle it as a routine public order issue similar to noise complaints. The Adeptus Arbites do not get involved as long as tithes are paid and labor quotas are met. Illegal refineries process the product, paying workers in narcotics while enforcer captains take bribes to look away. From the sump, distribution gangs move the product upward to corrupt Chartist captains who smuggle it past orbital customs. If Obscura keeps the hive quiet, stims keep it moving. These combat drugs are the Imperium's sanctioned addiction, flooding barracks, manufactoria, and gang dens. A single injection jolts the body into overdrive where pain vanishes and muscles burn with unnatural strength. For soldiers, it means fighting past wounds that should have killed them. For workers, it means surviving another 16-hour shift without collapsing. Then there are flecks, shards of warp-tainted glass recovered from chaos-corrupted worlds. Gazing into them triggers intense, reality-bending psychic hallucinations. Expensive and rare, they circulate almost exclusively within the upper spires. When you're exposed to it for too long, your nervous system starts to go haywire, leading to a violent twitching under your skin, almost like a swarm of blind maggots is digging through your muscle fibers. If you keep using it, this shard eats away at your body, turning your internal organs into a slurry mess from the inside out and transforming bone marrow into something foul, until the parasite can claim you whole. The Inquisition hunts flex smugglers with urgency, treating every shard as a doorway to demonic possession, while Obscura networks are quietly ignored since a drugged hive is a quiet hive. Stims sit in the middle ground, tolerated and even encouraged because they keep quotas high and soldiers fighting. Quota Killings. The Adeptus Arbites are the Imperium's police, heavily armed, ruthlessly trained, answerable not to local governors but directly to the Lex Imperialis, the single unified legal code that governs every human world under the Emperor's light. On paper, they are incorruptible. In practice, they are measured by metrics. Every Arbit's precinct reports its crime statistics upward to the Sector Administratum. Those statistics determine funding allocations, staffing levels, and whether a precinct commander keeps their posting. This has led to a shift in the underhive districts, where gang violence is so rampant that genuine crime reduction is statistically unfeasible. Arbit's precincts in the deepest levels of the hive have figured out how to manipulate their numbers. Known gang members are often held indefinitely on detention orders without formal charges. Unsolved murders are reclassified as disappearances, which fall into a different statistical category. Periodic sweep operations allow them to meet arrest quotas in a single night, regardless of whether those detained have actually committed any crime. The arbitrators doing this are individuals who believe they are upholding the Emperor's law, that they have simply decided that it is best served by making sure the numbers look right. Void ship stowaway hunts. Imperial Navy officers run lethal, high-stakes gambling hunts to slaughter the multi-generational stowaways living hidden inside their massive starships. These battleships are kilometers long, featuring unmapped, forgotten sectors, sealed maintenance shafts, and toxic bilge decks where internal sensors don't work. Over voyages that last for years inside the warp, massive illegal populations accumulate in these dark zones, made up of port stowaways and generations of their children. These bilge rats survive by creating their own tribal societies and trading stolen rations. Instead of clearing these areas safely, corrupt mid-deck officers turn these hidden populations into a deadly sport for extra income. Officers pay an entry fee, set a time limit, and send hunters into the dark. The officer whose hunter achieves the highest body count wins the gambling pot. The lower deck communities have survived these generational purges by building secret maps of the corridors. Cult front businesses. Gene stealer cults use honest, high-quality local businesses to quietly spread an alien genetic infection across entire city populations. A gene stealer is a tyrannid bioform designed to infiltrate human worlds. A single touch transmits an alien infection that quietly rewrites a human's biology. Over 4 generations, their descendants become hybridized monsters bound by a shared psychic link. They form a hidden gene stealer cult that does not recruit openly. Instead, they embed themselves directly into the local economy by running incredibly legitimate, highly trusted front businesses. For generations, the cult operates unusually safe mining cooperatives, fair-paying dock workers guilds, and free Medicaid charities. Regular citizens eagerly join because these organizations offer better social services, better jobs, and a stronger sense of community than the corrupt imperial government. The infection spreads silently through simple handshakes, shared meals, and workplace greetings among coworkers who have known each other for 20 years. The horror is that the trap is completely real. The cult genuinely takes better care of its members than the Imperium does. The mask only comes off when the Tyrannid Hive fleet gets close enough to broadcast its psychic call. At that exact moment, every infected citizen shifts instantly from a happy, productive worker into an alien servant ready to betray their world right before the Hive fleet arrives to consume it. The Mutant Zoo. In the uppermost levels of the Great Hive cities where the air is filtered and the light is real, and a single meal costs more than an underhive family earns in a year, the wealthy elites have a twisted hobby. High-status nobles collect human mutants with unique traits, treating them as exotic pets to flaunt at exclusive gatherings. While the Lex Imperialis strips away rights from those whose mutations surpass a certain genetic threshold, the nobles cleverly sidestep these laws by employing licensed administratum assessors. These well-compensated officials are more than willing to certify that the mutants fall outside the category of ordinary citizens, effectively classifying them as property. These collections are kept in sealed, climate-controlled habitats where nobles proudly display their prized specimens at dinner parties, showcasing their immense wealth and sophisticated taste in taxonomy. The rarer the mutation, the greater the prestige. Serious collectors take pride in their long-term care. An exhibit that has been maintained for decades carries significant social clout. Gangs hunt these creatures throughout the sum, the absolute lowest level of the underhive, defined by toxic wastelands and chemical sludge, corrupt arbits, precincts, and private trafficking networks, then smuggle the captured mutants upward, facilitating their sale directly to the Spire-born aristocracy. Once purchased, nobles compete for social status by flaunting the rarest and most grotesque physical deformities of their mutants. The most esteemed estates even boast living family heirlooms, multi-generational mutant lineages bred and maintained in captivity for centuries. Psyker Trafficking. The black ships of the Adeptus Astra Telepathica travel set routes across the Imperium to collect every registered Psyker before their uncontrolled powers tear a hole in reality. The problem is, the Administratum runs on its own timeline. On outer system worlds and in the deep hive districts, the wait between a Psyker's registration and their actual collection spans years. In that gap, 2 separate criminal sectors thrive, feeding off each other. Corrupt administratum clerks sell fake deferral certificates to families with nowhere else to turn. The documents look real because the people making them have the actual seals. Families hand over their savings, their property, whatever they can scrape together to buy more time with their children, believing the delay is safe and official. But the truth is far from it, as the clerk just pockets the money and moves on. The untrained Psyker stays home, and as a result, their powers spiral out of control. The ensuing warp breach is instant, wiping out everyone in the vicinity or even across an entire hive floor. The Inquisition then shows up, stamps it a structural collapse, and closes the case in a week. Yet the corruption doesn't end with forged papers. Families who thought they were buying safety often find their children sold into trafficking rings where their abilities are exploited. Crime lords in the underhive see unregistered psychers as disposable assets, weapons and tools that are too dangerous to ignore. Low-level precognitives predict Arbit's raids while telepaths infiltrate corporate secrets, and powerful psychers are used as untraceable weapons. An untrained psyker's power grows until suppression technology collapses, opening a rift into the warp. For the crime lords, these disasters are simply the cost of doing business. The network then moves to a different district and starts again. Thanks for watching until the end. Click here to check out another video and see you in the next one.